Valve just announced a new VR headset, the Steam Frame. In this video, I'm going to tell you my first thoughts on the specification, the nature of it, and how it will be suited or not suited to sim racing. So, subscribe to then be able to unsubscribe, click the like button, and of course, thanks to all the channel members, supporters, and people that make this channel possible. To get straight to the point, it looks like the Steam Frame is basically a Valve Quest 3. Very similar to a Quest 3 in many ways, but it does seem to have a few fairly significant differences to the Quest 3. And I think the biggest difference will be is the weight of the device, and I think it's probably going to be quite a bit more comfortable than a Quest 3 to use. So the actual headset compute unit on the front is lighter than a Quest 3 because the compute unit itself is lighter and the lenses are lighter, but also the battery is not in the front of the headset. The battery is separate at the back, so I think it could be substantially more comfortable to wear and use for longer periods of time than a Quest 3. Also, Valve are selling it with a dongle that will allow it to send the video signal wirelessly to the headset as a sort of plug and play solution, rather than you having to use a Wi-Fi 6 router or a Wi-Fi dongle to then use virtual desktop like we do with the Quest 3. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any HDMI or direct video port on it, which is a bit of a shame. I think a lot of us would like that. So again, in many ways very similar to a Quest 3. Where it does differ again to a Quest 3 though is that it has eye tracking built into it. They're supposedly using the eye tracking along with their dongle if you're using it with your PC to keep the quality as high as possible and make it look as good as possible. But I also wonder to what degree that eye tracking will be able to be used with your software, racing games, foveated rendering and all that kind of stuff, which can be really significant for performance. And the Quest 3 does not have eye tracking built into it. The Quest 3 Pro does, but yeah, the normal Quest 3 doesn't. So all in all, it just looks to me like you could sort of think of it as a kind of Quest 3 Valve Edition. Quest 3 1.5 is really the impression that I'm getting, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the price of the headset as to how compelling that makes it, but also I think for a lot of people they don't really want to get involved with Meta. They'd rather access stuff through the Steam store. They'd rather interact with Valve rather than the Meta software, you know. So for those people, I think this could be really good. I mean, I do have a Quest 3. I really like it. I do think on balance the Quest 3 is currently the best all-round VR headset when you sort of consider the price, the sort of utility of it. As a standalone VR headset, absolutely fantastic. I love playing standalone VR games on the Quest 3. So I think having a Valve headset that's a standalone VR headset and that plugging into the Steam store, that's a really significant thing for VR in general. They are making a thing about being able to play 2D games on it like you could with virtual desktop with the Quest 3, but that being more integrated, or even playing those 2D games basically standalone, so you could use it as like a 2D VR Steam Deck if you wanted to. So I can see that being appealing for a lot of gamers that are thinking of it as a standalone gaming device. Of course, you'll be able to play standalone VR games on it, but then also plug it into a PC and use hardcore high processing games on it if you wanted to as well. But yeah, I think it's really exciting as a general VR device. I think it's really exciting as a device that will push VR to more people, that it adds more competition into the VR space. I definitely feel like it's going to be sold at a compelling price. From what I've seen, it's going to be cheaper than a Valve Index at retail. I think Valve just want to get people buying Steam games and Steam VR games they don't want them to be buying stuff on the Meta Store. So I think that's going to make them do a competitive price. But based off the features, I think it's still going to have to be a fair bit more expensive than a Quest 3 would be. And then ultimately on the hardcore sim racing side of things and sort of flight sim, I think, you know, if you really want that clarity and the ultra resolution, you're not going to be able to compete with maybe like a big screen Beyond or a Pimax, or, you know, headsets that are specifically designed for simulation. Those are going to offer a higher quality image or specific features that you might be looking for purely for simulation. The other one is that the Valve VR headset is using LCD screens, so it's not going to have the rich blacks that you'll get from like an OLED screen or micro OLED, for example. So I think the super duper high-end VR PC gamers that are willing to just spend tons of money are probably not going to be that excited by this device. But I think if you are looking or going to be looking for something that's not a Quest 3, slight upgrade from a Quest 3, and a really good general VR device designed around comfort and probably works really well, I think it could actually be possibly the best VR headset that will be available on the market when you consider everything, all said and done, all variables. It's not going to be the best for everybody, but the best on average. So there you go. I think it'd be interesting to know in the comments, are you guys a bit disappointed by this headset? Were you hoping that Valve were going to do like another super duper mega high-end premium headset? Or are you quite happy that they're doing what is seemingly a upgraded Quest 3? Be interested to see what people's views are on that. I'm kind of middle of the road on this. I like what they've done. I like how it progressed VR. I'm a little bit sad that they're not doing something mega insane. But ultimately, this is why I use the Quest 3 as this is why it's my favourite headset. Ultimately, when it comes to VR, putting something on your face, it being light and comfortable and just working is still the big issue, not the resolution or field of view or everything else. It's like, can you put it on your head? Is it good VR tracking and everything? But does it just work seamlessly? That's what really matters. So I'm quite optimistic. I'm not mega hype. I'm moderately optimistic, and it's going to be really interesting to try out and see how it compares to the Quest 3, I think, and how it compares to some other VR headsets. So yeah, that was a news update. Gamer Muscle reporting from the basement. Till the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Happy tea drinking. Take care. And goodbye.